I split 100 players into 4 empires and made them simulate medieval times in hardcore Minecraft. In this event, each team will have to siege castles, grow their army, and fight to the death to prove which empire is the strongest of them all. Which team will come out on top? Let's find out. This is 100 players simulate medieval times in hardcore Minecraft. As all 100 players were released from their cages, players rushed to gather resources and search their surroundings to find the best place to set up their kingdom. The 4 teams, red, blue, yellow, and green, were all out for blood to prove that their empire was the strongest of all. My team spawned in the north of the map, right next to a Viking village, so straight away we crossed the river and started looting whatever we could from these boats on the dock and the houses connected to it. We found food, weapons, and then wasted no time in upgrading our tools as quickly as possible. As expected, other teams also spawned close to structures. After chopping down a few trees, the blue team spotted a massive castle in the distance, so headed straight over to check it out. When they arrived, they were greeted by a fully grown farm that surrounded this castle's entrance. Straight away they farmed up this entire field and then made their way inside of the walls to see what they could find. It had houses that were filled with armor, weapons, and much more that would all be needed very soon, because just up the road from them was the yellow team. After leaving their cage, they chopped down some trees and made some boats to start their adventure nice and early. As they crossed a huge lake, a castle started to load into their render distance. This castle was the biggest anybody had found yet. It had villagers, farms, loot, and a massive high ground advantage over any team that would be coming to attack later on when PvP was enabled. As teams started exploring the castles they had found, my team back in the Viking village had explored a bit further and found a small farm attached to another village higher up on the hill. We made our way up and walked straight through the walls to start checking out these houses. Unfortunately, nothing great was in here, but at this point, we still had no idea what other kind of bases our enemies had found. And something we did know was that since this village was on top of a hill, it would be pretty smart to set up camp here for the height advantage, looking out over all the surrounding areas. As a team, we all agreed this place was our new home, and once that was sorted, we split up into 2 groups, leaving some people back at the base, whilst the other group headed back out into the wild to try and find some information on the other teams. As we started our search, we felt like we were progressing quicker than a lot of the other teams would be. But we weren't the only team to settle down already. Yellow team wasted no time in claiming that sandstone castle as their own, so started setting up a base inside of the courtyard. Since a few teams had already started finding places that they wanted to set up in, they were now faced with the important task of placing down their team's beacon to confirm their land. This beacon is very important to each team. In this event there are only 2 ways of winning: killing every player on the enemy teams, or breaking their beacon to take over their team and have all of their players merge into your empire. So placing this beacon in a secure spot was something that each team would have to do very carefully. Yellow team's leader decided to scale to the top of their castle and place their beacon at the top of the tower as far away from the entrance as possible. Blue team were also pretty confident that the castle they had found earlier on was a good place to live. After looting all of the houses they could, their team started to look for a place to put their beacon down.
Well, if you want practicality, put it upstairs, but if you want to look cool, then yeah, downstairs.
Oh, I have an idea. Everyone come down to
chandelier?
the throne
Oh
room.
my God.
Everyone go to the throne room.
I got it. Yeah.
Alright, you ready?
Yeah.
Boom. Team 2's
820,
beacon has been
685.
placed.
They went for a really odd strategy, almost placing the beacon in plain sight, hoping that the enemies would just walk straight past it if they managed to breach the walls of this kingdom. So now that it was placed, they all fled the scene to avoid drawing attention to it. But something they didn't know was that the green team had been sneaking around the map since the very start of this event, trying to get prepared and ready for battle before anybody else. And whilst doing that, they ran into the castle that the blue team had just claimed. Without blue team realizing, their enemies now knew exactly where they lived. So as the green team slipped away into the forest undetected, they crossed the bridge between them and the blue team and headed back towards their castle that they found really early on. Green team had actually made a lot more progress in the same time that any other teams had. They found this castle almost immediately as soon as they spawned in, and after locating all of the armor and weapons inside, they placed their beacon down in the tower, claiming this place before anybody else could, which allowed them to go out and search for other teams much earlier on. Up north, us Vikings were still out searching to see what we could find out about the other teams. And after travelling for a while, unfortunately, we found nothing but a few burnt down houses and a small village with some leather armour. So as explorers regrouped and started making our way back to our teammates back at the camp. When we arrived back, we joined the other 3 teams by placing our beacon down to claim this village. Alright, I'm gonna find a place to put the beacon in here somewhere.
Hey, Sword, right here's a good spot if you want to look at this.
Oh yeah, that is a good spot if we pop it. We can't hide it, that's the problem, so if we just...
One more iron.
If we do it like this, and then put it right there.
Beautiful.
Alright. Now, with only 30 minutes left until Phase 2 started, most teams still had players covered in leather and even chainmail armor, which would not be a good idea to go into battle with. So almost every team decided to send some players underground to start mining up some iron for armor. Over at the yellow team's castle, their team leader chose to stay above ground as most of his members went down below. He wanted to head out into the wild and leave the comfort of his castle to explore this world and try and find some other team's locations to start plotting his first attack. He hopped on a horse and started travelling through the lands ahead. After passing through some different biomes and leaving his trusty horse behind to cross a river, he had somehow made it all the way to our Viking village at the north point of the map. As he snuck up the hill and crept towards our walls, a few players from my team were on guard at the door, so before he was seen, he decided to run away. We had no idea that an enemy player was just 1 block away from our base, but before any of us could spot him, he was gone far into the distance, back on his horse, checking out other castles on his way home with the new information. As some time passed, most teams started to make their way back to the surface with the ores from their mining trip. We got to work cooking up the iron and making armor as normal, thinking that we were still unknown to the rest of the teams. And now, with only 5 minutes left until battles could begin, teams started splitting into groups to decide which players would be attacking other empires, whilst the rest of them stayed back and defended theirs. Green team had already chosen which of their members would be defending their castle earlier on, because for the last 10 minutes they had been building a roadblock at the bridge that led to the blue team's castle. And since blue team also didn't know that their location was known, they'd be in for a huge surprise as soon as they travelled down the path and were faced by the wall of green warriors. Over at the blue castle, they were ready for a fight though, and now they were deciding which players of theirs would be the first to head out on a charge in the wild. They gave all of their chosen soldiers the best weapons and made sure they were on a horse to give them the speed advantage over the other teams. But as this happened, one of blue team's players with a Shrek skin decided it was time to end his own life by jumping from the top of the castle walls in front of the whole team. Now they were 1 man down before a fight had even started. As all teams had finally decided which of their members were going to fight for their empire, Phase 2 was finally here. Teams were now allowed to attack and try to take over other kingdoms. So the chosen fighters with the blue shields started their charge down the path on their horses to see if they could find any bases. At the other end of this path, green team stood strong, anticipating the blues to charge down the path any minute now. And once they saw they were right, they made their charge too. Blue team had no idea what was about to happen. As both teams charged through the forest, they met in the middle, and the first fight of the server was on.
Turn back, turn back, turn back!
I'm stuck. The horse is stuck.
We can't turn back now, boss.
They're fighting my horse, I'm gonna die! They're targeting me!
I died.
Can I?
Enemy.
We got one. We got one. We got enemy number one.
Yes.
I'm on one, I'm fighting one. I killed one.
Oh,
Nice.
I died.
Oh fuck! Oh god! I'm probably gonna die here. I'm dead.
People's horses were being killed, and a few soldiers were dying along their side. The Greens had truly caught the Blues by surprise and were destroying them.
Okay, I got another.
Coming back, you said?
The Greens had lost a few warriors of their own too, but they were winning this battle and had pushed all the way to the walls of the Blue Castle. As they breached the door, the Blue team looked to be in serious trouble, but then they started clawing back, pushing the Green team back out of the walls and killing the few remaining members that were still inside.
Back up, back up. Okay, retreat, retreat. Boys, retreat. Retreat, do not go into.
The Green team had to retreat. They fell back to their bridge and regrouped to make sure everybody wasn't slaughtered behind enemy lines. As this battle went on, Yellow team had finally left their castle and started heading out looking for war. As soon as they saw all of the people dying in chat, they wanted in on this fight. So they hopped in boats at the bottom of their castle and headed across the ocean. Back at the bridge, the Green team continued to stand their ground as the Blues started moving down the path again. This battle was far from over, and the Greens weren't going to stand around all day waiting for them to make the move. So once again, they charged down the path in the attempt to kill all of the horses and players that they could find. As they pushed towards the castle once again, way further back behind them, the yellow team had finally made it across the ocean and spotted a castle in the distance. This was the castle of green team that were currently still preoccupied fighting the blues. As yellow team could see the fight taking place in chat, they knew that this castle would only have a few guards inside since the rest of their team was out fighting, so they wasted no time in charging towards the walls. Green team was still on the push to take over the blue castle. As they charged through the walls once again, they killed the blue team's leader, meaning that the rest of their members had no one to follow orders from anymore. This made them so much less organized, making Green's attack even easier. But the only problem Green team now faced was they had no idea where in this castle blue team's beacon was.
Get him! Nice!
Where's their beacon? I cannot find it. I'm inside. I'm actually inside the base, but I don't know where the beacon is.
As they continued to reduce the blue team's player count, their base had been breached by the yellow team, and now they were on a mission to clear out the guards and find that beacon.
Oh, there's a guy here. I think he's trying to protect the beacon. Follow me, guys.
Oh, stop. You good?
Yeah, I'm helping. Alright, nice.
They're under you guys. They're under you guys.
Yeah, whoever.
I got it. I got the beacon.
You got the beacon?
Nice.
You got the beacon.
But you got the beacon.
Let's go.
After powering through the guards, they had found the beacon, and now green and yellow team had merged into one, meaning that yellow team now had 32 members in total. The only problem they now faced was that their new members were still fighting blue team all the way at their castle, and not all of them were going to make it out alive, meaning that they were losing valuable members that they had only just gained. During this whole time, my team had left our base and been traveling through the world trying to catch up and find where all the other teams were fighting. On our searches, we came across a few castles, and after sneaking all the way to their entrances to surprise attack those inside, we were met with disappointment every time, since there was no players in sight. Whilst we checked the castles, we still looted as much as we could, but with no enemies in sight, this castle was useless to us, so we moved on. We decided our best plan was to follow the paths to see if we could find any enemies that way. Eventually, we reached a small bridge that led us right into the enemy's land, so we snuck through the forest to try and jump someone. After a few minutes of sneaking, we spotted a lone player. Now it was time to strike. Oh, there's someone there. Is he on ours?
No, he's not ours.
Right, chase him, see if we can pick him off.
There's a bunch of people here,
There's another one.
Okay, right, get ready for a fight here, get ready.
Yep.
Everybody up here.
Yes! Nice. Wait, where are you guys? Oh, this guy isn't. Okay, come back, because we're all back here. I'm fighting some random guy. He's dead. Oh, there's another one here, gaming view. These players were the old green team members that had just left the blue castle. After a few of them managed to escape from our reach, yellow team was back down to 25 players. Their takeover of green team was now basically pointless. With our spirits high from killing a few enemies, we continued past the roadblock that the green team had set up earlier, and after following the path for a minute, we could see the blue team's castle. Whilst we had been killing those players, blue team had fled their land with only 4 players remaining. We saw their player count and decided this was an easy battle, so started sneaking through their old wheat fields and approached the entrance. Since they had escaped, we were able to just walk straight in. We knew somewhere in this castle was the blue team's beacon, and instead of running around the map trying to kill them, it would be much easier to just break their beacon and take over their team. But at this point, we still had no idea they had escaped, so we continued to sneak around as a group, ready to attack when we could. Whilst we did this, yellow team and their new members were also talking about how blue's castle was now unprotected with their beacon somewhere inside. So with the thought that they could now easily claim 4 new members to their army, they started heading over with no idea that we were hiding inside of it. As we continued to sneak around, yellow team had arrived at the entrance, and now it was only a matter of time before we ran into each other. Oh, there's a name. Gamer John.
That's team 2.
No, that's team 3.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, I swear.
Okay, right. Everybody stay crouched. Do not uncrouch yet. Everybody keep coming up these stairs.
Up there. He's definitely up there. I see his name tag.
Yeah, I see him as well. I've got a knockback staff, so I'm going to try and smash him off.
I'm not sure.
Oh, I see them at the bottom. I see them at the bottom. They're running in, I think. Yeah, there's soccer. There's soccer down there. Soccer and OSR. Oh, I'm getting shot at. We showered them in arrows, and after almost killing their leader, they were forced to retreat. But of course, we followed. As they escaped from the castle, the chase continued through the forest, and we managed to find one of their members all alone in the ocean. Watch out, because his team might be following us.
They're not.
Where is he? Oh, he got him. Nice. Let's go. Where are you?
Where?
Another one of their members was down. But back on land, one of our members called for help as he was being killed by 2 of our enemies. Unfortunately, we arrived a few seconds too late and he was killed. The chase continued through the forest, but they had ender pearls and there was no way we could catch up to them. So as a team, we all regrouped to make sure we lost no more players to a 2v1. Something we didn't realise though, was that one of them that had just escaped was literally 10 blocks beneath us, telling his team where we were. But at this point, it didn't matter. Our team seemed like the most dominant force on the server. But the Yellow's team leader, also known as Soccer, was confident that he could put a stop to us. After he escaped into the ocean and left the rest of his team behind, he still knew the location of our base from earlier on, and it was at this point that Soccer knew that the only way he'd be able to take us down now was by destroying our beacon. As he travelled up to the north of the map, he spotted one of the blue team's players that had ran all the way here to avoid being killed. Even though this guy tried to disguise himself as one of Soccer's teammates by changing his shield to one that he had picked up from a dead body, Soccer didn't fall for it and killed him on the spot. After this guy was dead, he continued travelling and eventually made it to our Viking village. Luckily for us Vikings, as planned, our guards were on duty looking out over the surrounding areas. But Soccer was smart. He knew that if he wanted to get past our guards, he'd have to sneak around the back of the base. So that's exactly what he did. Even though our guards were checking the back of the base, he managed to make it all the way up the mountain and to the walls without being seen. Luckily for him, one of our guards fell to his death by accident at the perfect time to cause a distraction. So Soccer scaled the walls and was in the base on his way to our beacon. Back at the blue castle, we had spotted another yellow team soldier and started hunting him down straight away. This guy did not want to die, so made us work for the kill by making us chase him for a long time. Eventually though, we caught up to him in the village, and now he didn't stand a chance against our army, and we killed him. You got a fire aspect in?
Nice.
Yeah, he's fired. Yes! Right, everybody heal up just in case there's more people coming. Unfortunately for us though, back at our base, Soccer had made it all the way to the beacon somehow without being seen by our guards. Meaning he was able to drop right on top of it and break it to take over our team.
Team 1 is part of us. Team 1 is part of us.
No way.
Let's go, Soccer!
What? They got a beacon.
What?
He's here.
What?
Yes, he's dead.
No! They got our beacon. How did they get it?
Damn it.
Now our team had a brand new leader. I had been knocked off my throne by Soccer, and only 2 teams now remained. It was the 39-player yellow team against the 3 remaining players on the blue team. These guys had managed to meet up secretly and hide underground to try and come up with a plan to take down 39 enemies. After they realised that the only possible way was to try and pick off members one at a time in the wild, they resurfaced and started searching for the enemies. As Soccer led my old team towards his castle, they were jumped by the players on the blue team. This attack failed horribly. One of the blue team's members got stuck in a hole whilst fighting one of us and was killed to the fire aspect staff. Back on the surface, Soccer was still fighting one of their members, and after getting some big hits in, he was down. Now, there was only 1 player remaining on the blue team, and he had no option but to run until he came up with a plan to try and take down 39 enemies on his own. He dived into the closest castle he could find to take cover. When he was in here, he was narrowly missed by a few people searching for him. As he made his way up a tower and looked out onto the world, he realised he didn't stand a chance against the army of people that was after him. So, he decided to hop in a boat and headed over towards the Yellow's team base to put an end to the search and sacrifice himself. When he arrived, he made his way around to the entrance, and as soon as he was spotted, players started flooding towards him. he was swarmed by enemies, and eventually, he died, making Yellow Team the final kingdom on this server. Throughout this adventure, the Yellow Team had slaughtered their enemies, taken over castles, and lost a few soldiers of their own. But in the end, they came out on top. As all 39 remaining players stood in a line, their team leader looked out to his army in confidence that he would be able to take down anyone that challenged his team in the future. This empire totally went on to rule the world, and didn't just start killing each other as soon as they were declared the winners. But I hope you guys enjoyed this story of medieval civilizations. If you did, please subscribe, because there will be many more coming soon. But for now, that's all, and I hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.